everyone. So this is a follow-up to my last video on how to make the face mask. It came to my attention that maybe using fabric threads might be even better than the elastic. We can still make the mask with the elastic, but we're also going to try with the fabric. And this makes it easy. If you can't get a hold of any elastic, you can use what you have at home. I had a brainstorming session with Joyce today, and she had some great ideas that you could use some grosgrain ribbon. It needs to be grosgrain, not satin, or it won't stay tied. So you got to have that texture in there. One thing to mention is that you want to either use some fray check, or since it's polyester, you could take a lighter if you're very careful and just melt the ends, and then it won't fray like this. You could also use bias tape, the extra wide double fold. You have to make sure it's the double fold. Let me show you what it looks like. So it opens up like this, and it folds over, and there's no raw edges, and you just sew all the way down however length you need, and then you have like a tie. And then what else do I have? So right here I used an old t-shirt that had a hole in it, and I just cut it into 1-inch strips. Any kind of knit fabric will work, but if you cut it into 1-inch strips and then pull on it like this, it rolls up on itself, and that can make a good tie as well with things you have laying around, anything that's made of knit. Let's see, Joyce had the idea of using shoelaces as well, but there's all kinds of things. You can get creative with things you already have. You can also use a piece of fabric, just cotton fabric. You would want to cut it to 1.5 inches, and these ties need to be 18 inches, so this wouldn't be long enough for a tie, but you can you get the idea. I'll show you how to do this. So you cut it to 1.5 inches by 18 inches, and then you're gonna fold it in half like this and iron it. Then you're gonna open it back up and fold it in and in again. And you can do this in 2 steps. Fold one side, iron it, and then fold the other side if you want to. Just iron all the way down, and we're basically making that same kind of tape. This one's just not cut on the bias. Whoops. Okay, and then you're just gonna fold it in half this way. This turned out a little thin. Maybe you want to cut the original piece 2 inches. Just iron it back in half, and then you have all of the raw edges enclosed. And at this point you just sew down the side. You can finish this edge by folding it in, folding it back over, and then sewing down, but you get the idea. So that'll give you a good tie. So just remember that each tie needs to be 18 inches long, and you're just gonna insert it in the corners just like we did in the first video with the elastic. The only difference is it's not gonna be attached to the other side. The next thing I wanted to show you was how to insert some pipe cleaner into the top of the mask so that it can conform closer to the nose. So you just take your pipe cleaner, and we're gonna cut it to about 6 inches. And you want to get out some kind of pliers or something that's going to cut it easily because it's wire. And once you cut it, you've got the pointy ends, and you don't want that poking out of the mask or hurting anyone. So we're just going to take it and just bend it under and then crimp it together. You're going to do that on both sides. Just make sure that it's nice and flat. And then you've got a dull edge there. And this is really easy to bend. So even you can push it together with your fingers. And there you go. Okay, now I'm just going to insert this. So in my first video, I showed this as the top, and when you're inserting the pipe cleaner, we're gonna flip it, and the bottom is now gonna become the top. So you're just going to take your pipe cleaner, stick it inside. I made this opening a little too small, so make sure you can fit your hand in the opening. And then you're just going to center it. Center the pipe cleaner all the way to the top there. Pull your hand out if you can get it out. And then you want to center it so that when you go to sew your pleats in on the sides, you're not going to go over the pipe cleaner. So we're just going to push it down. I'm going to grab my clips again. Clip one side in. See if you can just push it up. You might need to stick your hand back in there. You're going to be working around those seams, but you want to get it all the way up to the top. I'm going to put a couple of clips here to hold it. And then all we're going to do is go to the sewing machine, and we're going to sew right here to make a little casing so that the pipe cleaner doesn't move. Now we're going to sew the little casing to keep the pipe cleaner there. So you're just going to start, I moved my needle all the way over to the right as far as it can go, and then just sew pretty as close as you can get to that pipe cleaner without going over it. Also, one thing that would work well would be to use your zipper foot, and you can get extra close there. We're going to reverse at the beginning and at the end again. And it's just important to keep that pipe cleaner all the way up to the top. And there you go. You have this nice bendable top that can go around the nose. You could also come back in here and just sew. Oh, let's see. You can also come back in here and sew a line this way to keep the pipe cleaner from moving back and forth. Just make sure you don't go over it. And then trim your threads and you're done. One thing to keep in mind is once you are sewing your pleats, just make sure you don't hit those pipe cleaners. And that's it. I hope these are helpful tips.